Hello, and welcome back to the absolute chaos that is my author journey. So, I recently had a comment, which I will put it up on screen because this person had basically told me that their account got deleted, so they have a different account. So, I had managed to save this because I wanted to remember to come back to this. So, I had like my little prompt for this entire video. So, I'll put it over here and then I'm going to actually read it out. I didn't want to comment on the PNP promo ones because it didn't feel right to leave this comment on there, but I didn't know where else to comment. Long preamble, sorry. Would you ever consider making a YouTube video going over how you make your reels for promo? I am hopeless with short form content, and I'm sure others are as well. And I think it'd be extremely helpful to see the behind the scenes as it were showing how to make the shorts. First of all, the fact that anybody wants to ask me for advice on anything of this stuff, thank you. That's incredibly kind and definitely boosted me up when I was having a bit of a low period here. So I definitely appreciate the ego boost. But I saw this and again, part of one of the things that I wanted to do is to help other indie authors with this. So this was kind of the perfect sort of comment for somebody to leave that gives me an idea of like what you guys actually want. So I'm going to encourage that more of if there's a video, and I'll put posts on the community tab more often of if there is a topic for indie author related stuff that you would like a video on, if you want something shorter, so like a YouTube short or something like that. If you want either of those things, if there's a specific topic that you want covered or you want me to talk about, please, please, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm not saying I'm always watching because the YouTube comments, because I am working and I have a lot to do, but I do check it pretty frequently. So I do see when people leave stuff for me. So again, thank you to this individual who's just been an absolute delight to talk to. With this video then, I thought I would give you my behind the scenes slash like a quick-ish tutorial on how I have started to make my short form content for my book. Again, I'm prefacing this whole video with I am still new myself. I am still learning and growing and figuring all this out as I go. So what may work for me now or something that I'm testing now may not work in the future or may not be working as I'm currently testing it out. The thing about creating short form content for promo or just anything in general when it comes to short form content in general for indie authors is it's a very, very much of a trial and error and trial by fire, so to speak. So you have to kind of play around with what works for you, what works for the quote unquote brand you are trying to go for, which I'll talk a little bit more about the, again, quote unquote brand, and you'll see why here in a little while. But there's a lot of different factors that you have to consider when you're making this kind of content. So you have to gear it around what actually works for you, because what may work for one person may not work for another person. What may work for one genre may not work for another genre. So it's a lot of give and take. And later in the video, I'm going to do like an on-screen tutorial of like an example of how I've made some of my short form content. So that might be helpful for you. For now, I wanted to just get a few things out of the way, some more like before you get started sort of things, because those are going to be things you need to consider before you even get started with everything. But I'm not going to go too far into it because there are so many other authors and even indie authors on authortube on YouTube who do more extensive videos on this kind of thing. Again, in the future, I'm hoping to do more of these as well, and that once I get more experience, I'll have a little bit more confidence and a little bit more, oomph in my statements, but I'm still practicing. I'm still learning as I go. So if you want some recommendations for other indie authors on authortube that I found that I actually have watched some of their videos and I have implemented some of their advice into my own stuff, I'm going to put all of their information in the description below. If you want to check those out, I highly recommend you go to any of the people I have linked in the description. I'm going to also have just like basically a whole little section where I'm going to have helpful links from this whole video. And it's going to include those other authors. It's going to have some of the tools I'm going to mention and just any other sort of like advice or helpful things that you guys might need when you're creating your stuff. So let's get into the before you get started part of this. The first thing is going to be research. And again, it's going to be the principle of all things that we know as indie writers, indie authors is do your research, do it thoroughly, and you will avoid a lot of problems down the road. I am a very type A person. I like to have things planned out. I like to have my research done. So this part comes pretty easily for me. It may not for other people. So here are my like general ways of doing research in order to do short form content. And when I say do research, I'm not talking about like each and every video and whatever you're putting out has to have this backlog of information and blah 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 blah. It doesn't need to be that serious. But when I say do your research, I mean consider your genre, consider what comparable titles there are out there to your book, consider other indie authors and their marketing strategies and that kind of thing. So when I say, for example, I'm going to use myself, I am a contemporary rom-com author as of right now. I have a lot of other stuff out there that I'm going to be working on and have worked on and all this other stuff with literary fiction and with mysteries and stuff like that. But for right now, my pen name, Lee Creek, again, I am Elizabeth C. Cabrera. My pen name, Lee Creek, is a contemporary rom-com author. So my branding research is geared towards that area. So it's my target, so to speak. You need to know your target audience and your like who you're trying to get your content in front of. And by doing your research on, again, what other authors are doing, what other books that are comparable to you are doing, that's going to be really helpful to you. I'm not telling you to go out there and copy every single thing that you see somebody else doing because that's not original. Nobody wants to see people copying each other. So I'm not saying that, but if for me, for example, if I were to go to like Ali Hazelwood, some of her contemporary rom-com-y kind of books, and look at what her strategies are for when she's posting on like Instagram or, YouTube or TikTok or whatnot. Depends. All of this highly depends on what platform you are trying to get your content on, because there's three big ones for the short form content right now, and that is YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. And so all three of those are going to have different strategies that you're going to need to figure out. So finding indie authors on those platforms you're trying to get your content onto, finding people who are in the same genre that you are or have comparable titles to yours, kind of just watching and seeing what they do and how they're marketing their stuff and what is working for them is going to help you in the long run. Again, do not copy what they're doing. Don't, bullet by bullet go by exactly what they're doing, but just do your research and experiment. See what they're doing, how they're doing it, what works for them. I mean, and then even if you admire them enough and they are willing to, chit chat with you, reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm trying to figure out some content for my stuff and I really like how you do this. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like most authors that I know, if you reach out to them and they're like, hey, I'm trying to figure out some stuff. Can I just ask you a few questions? They will love if you pick their brain. Like, and again, most of them. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them are a little bit more stingy about how they, their secrets of how they do stuff. But most of them, for the most part, will respond to you if you ask them. So do your research ahead of time. Figure out what works for you or is what is going to work for your content. Experiment with it. Play around with different types of that content and all of that. So tying in pretty heavily with the previous point that I just made about research is going to be your branding. Now, especially when you're getting started, you don't need to have like everything figured out. You don't. It's really, honestly, if you're focusing more on that and not on your books, then but eventually branding is going to be something that you want to consider and incorporate more into your content. That's something currently for me that I'm starting to do. When I first started, I was doing a little bit more free floating of like, okay, well, this kind of works and this kind of works and this looks cool and this is that. But it wasn't very concise in a particular look or feel. And again, this will change and this will evolve as you evolve as an author, as you start getting more used to your craft, as you start getting more used to, creating short form content as you work on your books. Don't take this as the what you start with is what you end with. You can't change it ever, because you can. As you can see from some of my stuff, it's a constantly revolving door of trying different things and experimenting with different styles and that kind of thing. But once you get into a more solid foundation, once you've actually started putting your books out, that window of creativity is going to narrow a little bit more, and that is because you're honing in more on what is working for you and what is working for your specific, hate to say brand, but again, you as an author are a brand. I think I saw somebody once who put it very beautifully of, you are a writer. You're right. The writer is the person who produces the books. The author is the person who markets the book. So you are two different people when it comes to creating your book. So the writer creates the book, the author markets. When you're doing all of this stuff, you are the author who is marketing your books. Therefore, eventually you're going to have some sort of brand. And again, I am still experimenting with this part myself. I'm still trying to figure out my own voice. I only have the one book for romance that's coming out. I have the other ones that will be coming out, but I don't have anything out as of recording this video. So my stuff is earlier in the process of all of this, but it'll eventually get there. So when I get to that point where I'm a little bit on more solid grounds, I will post more content about that. But for right now, my biggest advice before you start with your short form stuff is at least playing around and experimenting and figuring out what you want your brand to be. Now, going into actually creating your content before you get started is going to be a concept called hooks. Now, again, if you want more information on a much more extensive look into this, I highly recommend Kate's book Date, author Katie Weismer. She's great. She is a author, romance author. She's been doing this for a very long time. A lot of the concepts and stuff that I've been basing a lot of my stuff on are some videos and stuff from her indie author resources. Highly recommend you check out her stuff. I'm linking the video and specific that I'm referring to for a lot of this in the description below. So be sure to check her out. Now, a hook is basically something that when you are, like, for example, if you're scrolling through TikTok or you're scrolling through YouTube shorts or whatnot, and you're seeing people talking about their books, what is it that you see that immediately kind of makes you stop and watch? What is it about that video or whatever they have in that content that is pulling you to want to continue watching it, or that makes you want to pick up the book? That's called a hook. From what I've seen from my own experience so far, there's basically kind of 4 different categories of hooks that I've seen that are used frequently throughout basically every type of short form content from any author that you'll see. It boils down to how you use that for your own content that matters. So there's 4 different categories, and I'll give you just an explanation on what those 4 categories are, because again, there are so many other people who can give you a better explanation than I can, but this is what I've seen so far. So the first major bucket category is going to be what I call an overview hook. An overview hook is basically the big picture of your book. So what is the big picture? If you had an elevator pitch for your book, that's what an overview hook is. So for the pen name project, as an example, I have an elevator pitch, so to speak. So I'll put my little elevator speech somewhere on the screen so that you have an idea of what I mean when I say an overview hook, so to speak. So it can be very general. It can be a little bit more concise, a little bit more particular, but it's giving the audience an idea of exactly what to expect with your book. So that's what an overview hook is. A situational hook is basically, the best way I can put it is it's basically like a situation that happens in your book. So it's something that happens within the plot line of your book. It can be anything in that book. It can be a huge chunk of it. It can be you can make it as broad or as narrow as you want to, but these can be pretty far ranging, and a lot of people will fall into this particular hook just because it tends to be the most fun, and it tends to be the most like attention grabbing, because it's like, this is something that happens in my book. Then there are the quote / blurb hooks, which, as it implies, it's a quote or a blurb pulled directly from your book. I think the thing with a lot of these hooks as well is they fall within each other as well. So you can have a quote hook that's in a situational hook and vice versa, or you can have an overview that has a quote. Like, you can kind of mix and match as you please, but these are just like the, again, broad spectrum hooks, so to speak. Then there are I personally call them the knuckle biting moments. And these are kind of like a variation of the situational hook, but a knuckle biting moment is basically like, for example, if you're reading something or you see somebody posting something on, TikTok or YouTube shorts or whatever, and it's like them giving you a very, very, very specific moment, or like, a taste of something in their book. There is a moment in the pen name project where Sam and Charlie go out for like a night on the town, and they go to a club dancing, and the next morning they wake up and he's out on the couch, and he wakes up and he's kind of feeling a certain type of way. And then Sam walks out wearing one of his shirts, and it's like, depending on your audience and depending on who you're targeting your books for, I call it the knuckle biting moment, because that's usually when people are like, yes, that's what I need. That's exactly the like micro trope that I need in my life. This is what I need. So that's kind of like my very broad spectrum of the different hooks that I've seen for creating short form content. Now, the next thing that I'll kind of touch on a little bit is there are so many different types of tools that you can use in order to create your short form content. I'm only going to talk to you about two of them because that's the only two I have really any experience with. So it would not be very wise of me to tell you how to use a bunch of other tools that I just frankly don't know how to use. So I'm going to tell you just about the two, and I'll give you kind of a walkthrough of those two platforms, and I'll show you more extensively, mostly for one of them, because the other one, and you'll understand why I can't show you as much on that one, but for the other one, I will be a little bit more extensive. So those two tools are going to be Canva and CapCut. The thing with both of those is that you don't necessarily have to pay for them if you don't want to. For Canva, I pay for a pro subscription because I want that and I use it so frequently that it just makes more sense for me to be able to have that. But it has a free subscription that you can use and it works perfectly fine. And you can create all the short form content you want to. There's no cap on how much you can use it, at least that I'm aware of. You can create as much as you want, however you want. The only cap that I've seen is going to be on what kinds of elements you're able to use without like upgrading to the subscription. And I'm sure there's other parts of it. But anyway, you don't necessarily have to pay for it if you don't want to. That's the one I use the most frequently. And then the second one is going to be CapCut, which I just mentioned. And CapCut is I think it's owned by TikTok. And because of like the nature of CapCut, I can't really show you exactly how I use it, just because again, it's a lot. So there is some copyrighted material that's on there. So I'll give you kind of like a scroll through to give you an idea. CapCut is very user friendly, I will say, just because it's like, if you need something to kind of plug some of your content into to create short form content, CapCut can be a really great tool. If you've seen some of the like meme style content people post for their books, a lot of them have used CapCut because there's a green screen effect that's in that, and you basically can choose what image or video you can put into that, and then it'll be able to put that into the green screen effect, so to speak. So CapCut can be really great, very user friendly. There are some features that you need to pay for a subscription for. I personally don't pay for a subscription to CapCut. I just don't need to. I don't want to. I have way too many subscriptions as it is, but I don't personally have a subscription now. I might in the future, but we'll see. But if you want to use CapCut, you can use most of the videos on there for free. It'll indicate which ones you can't. For the most part, you don't need to pay for anything other than the like indicated templates that they have on there. Now, the biggest tool and the one I'm going to do the most for this video for is going to be Canva, because it's the one I'm the most familiar with and can create pretty much a very large spectrum of content on there using a bunch of different tools and using, I want to say, popular hook methods that I've already described. So I'm going to kind of switch over to my other screen, and the rest of this video is going to be, well, at least for the tutorial-ish part of this video, it's going to be me over there on the screen. So let's switch over to that.
Hello. Okay, so now we are over here. So this is my Canva. I put up basically a little demonstration one so that I can show you basically how to create an example short form content video. So as you can see here, I like to name all of my stuff just because of tracking purposes. And again, I'm going to mention this. Your camera is here where you are looking at me. The thing is over here. So I'm going to be doing a lot of this. So please excuse that. So as you can see over here, I've got the date that I'm going to be posting this video, hopefully. And then I've got just a brief description of it and the title of which book it's for. So Twisting Fates is TF. And then this is going to be Grad School Rivals. So basically I've created just like off to the side. This would be considered, I guess, a knuckle biting moment, like I mentioned from the previous section, that I've kind of pulled that I think would be interesting for some readers, writers out there. So we're going to do that real quick. So as you can see, I've got this little video screen thing. This is the file size. So basically when you're creating on Canva, you go to, if you type in, I use the TikTok format just because it's already got the size that I need. So you go to TikTok, or if you start typing TikTok and you pick the TikTok video, it'll give you this layout right here. And basically in order to add to it, different screens or whatnot, you just click on this little thing down here. It adds a page, and I'll show you a little bit more about this, but I could do a more extensive Canva tutorial in the future for you guys if that's what you want, but this is just kind of a general, I guess, behind the scenes on how I do these. So for this particular video, we're going to do, which is another, I keep going on side tangents, I know, but another cool thing is you can, if you know what kind of fonts and colors and logos and stuff, there's a brand section on Canva that saves all the stuff you typically use. So I like these fonts here. There's colors and stuff like that for my brand. So just all that. And you see the little like crown icon here. That is a Canva Pro thing. So if you want something more for your branding and all that kind of stuff, you'll want the Pro subscription. Otherwise, you can do all the rest of this for free. Anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm going to add a text box, which I have these here, but I have another for this particular video that I like, and it's the Alice font. So sort of this first page of the video, so to speak, I'm going to put, so this is the first part of the hook. So this is like, usually when I make a hook video for promo of a book, I have the two different slides, so to speak. So this is the first slide. So you can see it here. It lasts 5 seconds as of right now. You can extend this by doing this, and I'm going to extend it to 6 seconds just because I like for people to have enough time to actually read this. We're going to do, so this is currently 16. I'm going to make this bigger. So I'm going to try 20. No, I think I want 30. There we go. Maybe even bigger, actually. Let's try 40. Okay, that's a little bit better. So we've got that. And if you click on your text box and drag it, you can see these two lines here. This means that it's perfectly centered in the direct middle of the screen, which depending on the format that you're putting this on, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, this will fit on all 3 of them. But just keep in mind that depending on the platform you're putting it on, you'll have like the home screen and the the heart buttons, the like buttons, all that kind of stuff. So you'll want to keep that a little bit in mind. So I tend to put it like somewhere in the middle. There's also, you have features on here that can show you the exact borders, but basically if you click and drag around, it'll show you where the borders of the video is. So as you can see here, where the pink is, where that pink square is, if you're inside of that, your video is going to be more optimized. So we're going to put this directly in the middle. So when your farm or grad school rival tells you that he's loved you since the day you met, but you have to remind him that was years ago, pulling the reader in there, add a page, 6 seconds. Let's go. The next part of this, and I'm going to basically just take this so I can copy the format, and then we're going to change this to, and this is a knuckle biting moment, and this is a quote from the book. So this is 2 different hooks in one. So the quote here is going to be, believe me, I'm painfully, I can't say this word, and I can't, you know what word that is, aware of that. So that would be a knuckle biting moment for me. So let's put that right there in the middle. And I will say again, depending on what platform you're putting your stuff on, be very careful of their terms and conditions and that kind of thing, because some platforms are a little bit more loose on what verbiage, like as you see here, what verbiage you can use and what they will take your stuff down for. So for me and what I've been doing when I have, because outside of filming, I curse like a sailor, like an absolute sailor. I don't curse as much on here because I don't want to get demonetized. Not that I'm getting monetized, but like, you know what I mean. I don't want to get called out because I'm cursing too much, even though I curse like a sailor. And when I do curse, I bleep it because I think it's hilarious. That's just me. I love watching videos where they bleep out them cursing because it's just absolutely hilarious to me. Anyway, I have to be careful of what I say, and that extends to this kind of content as well. So this is it. This whole thing for this example that I'm showing you is super simple and super easy for you to make. Like, you need 2 slides, like I'm showing you here, 2 slides. We're going to do 2 pictures, some music, which you, depending on which platform you're using, they have a whole library of music that you can use and you can put onto your video, and that's it. That's it. I'm telling you, that's it. So with all that said, we have this slide, we have that slide. So we have this mostly formatted for what I want. I am going to do a little bit more here in a little bit, but this is a good start. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to Elements, and we want something in the background. We don't want just like a black and white background. This is boring. The hook itself is interesting, I hope. The hook itself is interesting, but you want something else that's going to visually grab your reader or whoever you're trying to target. So because this is former grad school rivals, we're going to look for some background images that you can use, which again, because of copyright and that kind of thing, it depends on what images you're using, because yes, if you use images that are copyrighted, you will get your content pulled down and you will get a copyright strike, and you do not want that. So be very careful of what you're pulling. As much as I love like Pinterest and as much as I use Pinterest, don't pull an image from Pinterest because a lot of those are copyrighted. And if you put it in your content and the copyright owner or the person who owns the copyright for that sees it, you could get in trouble, and you don't want that. Believe me, I had a copyright strike on an image that I had used on an old blog a long time ago, and I had to pay because it turned out it was copyrighted under under APA. So you do not want that. Trust me when I tell you that. Avoid that by getting good images from royalty-free places. So I will put some of the ones I have used in the description. So Unsplash is a good one. Pexels is a good one. If you use Canva, whatever they have listed on here under their pictures and elements and that kind of thing, you can use it for your content. If you try to sell your content, or if you're trying to sell any of this stuff, that's where you start getting issues. But because we're not selling any of these, we're using these as promotional material, you don't have to worry about that. Even if you use like the Canva Pro elements, which is where a lot of people get in trouble over in the indie author community for like creating their book covers because they didn't check to see if they were using Canva Pro elements or not. So there was a big thing about somebody recently who had to take down their book and do a completely different cover for their book because Canva found out that they had used Canva Pro elements, and you're not allowed to do that if you're using them to sell something, which is obviously a book. So all of this to say, be careful of what you're doing and how you're using all of this stuff. But for the purposes of promotion and all this kind of stuff, whatever is on Canva Pro is safe to use for your promotional material. So with that said, let's dive back into this. So we're going to look up, because of the nature of the book, which is 2 tornado chasers, I'm going to do, let's try grad school students. So you see they've got videos, graphics, and photos. For what we're going to be doing, I'm just going to pull photos, and I'll show you how I use them for this. So see all, you can see which ones are pro and which one are free. So this one is an example of a free item or a free element that you can use that you won't get in trouble if you were to sell something with this on it. However, if you see anything with the little crown icon with the pro, if you hover over it, that is a Canva Pro element. Be careful of that. So let's see. Here, let's try something different, actually. And yes, I'm going to be very vague when I'm typing like search things in there. Don't judge me. So this one is a contender because it's got like just a, cut that out, a guy in a storm. Let's see if I can expand that a little bit and get a better idea. That's a potential, but because it's in the sea, I don't need that. And yes, I'm going to be, don't judge me. Just don't look at me. Don't judge me. I personally like using images where like the guy's face isn't like super visible. Like I want him to be a little bit more mysterious, but to each their own. Some people do full face, whatever. Again, to each their own. That's a good one. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, so I think we're going to stick with this one. So this is going to be our background image. So what I do beforehand, and again, this is just me. This is what I like to do with mine. You don't have to do this, but I like to change the background color. So this black and white here, I'm going to change it to this pink right here. This is my color palette for my brand, so to speak, that I'm starting to use more often. So I like to use this light pink, and then I want to make this bigger. So you can do it with the background if you want, but I'm going to show you why I'm doing it this way here in a second. So make this bigger so that way he is in frame so you can see him more closely. And then if you see this transparency option here, I'm going to turn that down a little bit and you're going to see that paint color coming in. So I like to put it down to about 50 because you're still seeing the image that's here. You're seeing a little bit of my color in there as well. And then when I fix up this text right here, it's going to make the text pop a little bit more as well. So we're good with that. And the reason that I didn't replace the background altogether is what we're going to do is you see this option here is animate. So you can't see it for some reason. My thing is being a little difficult. Okay, it's being difficult, but right here, there is this option here, which is called wiggle, which is why you couldn't see it because it was scrolled over and it was being difficult. So I like to do the wiggle. Cut, 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 cut. Okay, I fixed it a little bit. I had to change some settings and copy some stuff. So anyway, we're going to delete that. So basically it's, yes, what I just showed you, but it's being difficult because it's on another page. But basically you'll pull this down and it'll show you how intense you want this shaking to be. So I turn it down pretty low because I don't like it to be like absolutely chaotic, but just enough to give it some movement. So this is the first one. So when you see this little thing here, you can pull it back and it'll show you exactly what it's going to do. So we've got this one. And because this has the movement on there, basically what I do is I copy it and paste it, send it through a layer, send it to the back. So that way that motion and animation, as you can see, it's highlighted purple here. That animation and motion is still there. Well, first I probably should change the background color. Then I paste and then I send it to the back. So now that movement is still there. Obviously, we're not going to use the same image, but the movement is still there, and I'll show you how I keep the movement and just change the picture. So we've got the first one with the guy. Now we've got the second one with this line. So we're going to find a line or a picture that kind of matches that vibe, if we can find it. I'm very picky, I know, I'm sorry. You can also, again, I'm using Canva's free elements on here for this. If you want to use, again, something that's royalty free from like Unsplash or something like that, you can download those pictures and upload them yourself onto here and they will work just fine. But I'm being picky. Ooh, I like that one. That's simple. Oh, I like that. Okay. So this is the one we are going to use then because it's pretty simple, pretty vague, but like I think it'll still work for what I want it to. So I'm going to delete that. Basically, okay, so this is the image here. What I'm going to do is click it and drag over here, and you see how it automatically picks it up there. I'm gonna let it go, and it fits to that window, and when I click on it again, it's still holding that animate. So basically, you're just switching out the image. So move it a little bit so that that guy's in frame, and there you go. So now let's take a look at the whole video for a quick overview so far. Grad school rival, a little bit of movement, and then we cut to there. Pretty simple, pretty simplistic, not too difficult, right? So we've got the basis of our video. You don't even have to do the animate part if you don't want to. I like it just because I like a little bit of movement, but even if you had just a static image and that's it, that's also perfectly fine. But again, this is my tutorial, so I'm gonna do what I want. So we have both of these now, and we have our text on both of them. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it a little bit pretty. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to change the color of it to white. I'm going to add an effect, which if you add the effects, they've just got different text styles that you can add onto it. And I think, which one do I want? Is that a good one? Okay, I think this is the one I tend to like to do just because it's a little bit easier to see both the text and the background at the same time still. So we're going to do that one. And that's going to be how this looks on screen so far. So we've got that effect there, and let's go to the next one and do the same over there. So echo, it's putting it in the back, but I need to change the color, and now it looks like that as well. And we see a little bit of that pink from the background popping out. So I like this, and I think what I want to actually do is I want to make this text even bigger so it pops out even more. So I'm going to try 45, 50, how about 60? Okay, that works. That looks a lot better. Yeah, I think that works. Let's try over here as well. So 60. We're going to expand this a little bit. And it still fits in this window, so we're still safe. And there we go. Okay. So text is bigger, it pops out more, and you can see it more. This one, it blends it a little bit more into the background. So let's see if we can fix this a little bit. So I'm going to change this to an outline, and I like this color. So let's try that. Okay. And then when I use this outline effect, I usually bump that up and oh, there we go. Much better. Now you can completely see the text. You can see the background. It's not completely bleeding into the other. And I'm using colors that are in my brand, so to speak. So let's do that over here. Again, you don't have to do all of this if you don't want to. This is just me. So we're going to do 150. And we're going to use this green color. And there you go. So now if we hit play, this is what our video is going to look like. Text isn't moving. It's just the background to give it a little bit of movement. And that's it. If I wanted to add some more extra stuff to it, there's also a thing you can do where you add a transition. You can add pages in, obviously, but like if I wanted to add a transition, there's different transitions that basically goes from one slide to the next. So I like to use the circle wipe. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do a little test to see how it looks. And there we go. So this is both a knuckle biting moment and it's a quote from the book. It's a promo for Twisting Fates. So this is just a quick example of how I make, or quick tutorial / behind the scenes on how I would make one of these. This is something I will actually be posting. So if you see this on my YouTube shorts, let me know in the comments. Put a little tornado icon in the comments so I know that you came from this video to here, because this video will be posted after I post this video that you're watching. So let me know so you know I know who actually watched both of these at the same time. So once I get to this time for me to post this, I basically then go over to share, and then I can you can set it up to like put it directly onto certain platforms. I haven't done that. I'm much more basic of I just download it, save it to my, I have a OneDrive that I save all my stuff to. So I save it over there and then I upload it to the particular platform. And that's it. Hi, editing Liz here. I realized that there was another thing that I wanted to show you, but I completely forgot about it. So that's why I'm dressed like this. And I will cut back to my regularly scheduled dressage here in a little bit, but I wanted to do another quick little tutorial here because I realized this one also might be helpful for you guys that I personally also like to do. And all you're going to need is, as you can see, there's 3 kind of main sections on here, and then you'll need a background. For your background, as you can see over here, I've got these right here listed at the top. Basically, if you have a physical book that you have for your book, you can use that. Or if you have another like stock video, you can do that as well. I am promoting, this is from the Pen Name Project, so I'm going to use a video that I took, and it's very generic. It's basically just me flipping through the pages of my book and then cut to the ending of the book. So I'm going to show you how to put that onto a video like this. And again, like I said with the other one, for the audio, we're not going to have any audio. It's just going to be kind of in silence. And once I post it to the actual platform, that's when I put the audio on top of it. But for right now, doing all of this, there's not going to be any audio, and any audio from the video of me creating these things, I'm going to take that out so it doesn't create any like weird background sound. So we're going to pick which video. So I think I'm going to do this one. So basically I'm just going to click here. As you can hear, there is some background here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go down here to the video, right click. You see this extract audio. We're going to do that, and you see it pop up in this little blue bar, and all I'm going to do is just delete it. So now the video will be completely silent. As with the other one, I'm going to put a little bit of pink in the background just because I'm in my pink era right now, so I really like it. We're going to do, unlike with the other one, we will put this as a background, so replace background, and then we'll do a little bit of transparency. So I'm going to just turn that down just a little bit, not as much as with the other one, but just a little bit so you can see that pink pop through. And for this video, it's basically a quote / blurb hook for this video. As you can see, I've got like an entire block of text right here, which I'm going to we're going to turn this white before we send it to back actually this time. And I'm just going to make it big. And again, you can see the whole thing. So I'm just going to make it match to that. So that's the entire safe area. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for that. And then send it to the back. You can see it's not perfectly aligned, so we're just going to play with it until it seems aligned with the text, which it now seems to. I'm going to make it just a little bit taller just so it seems to, it's not like too crazy. There we go. So we've got a hook at the top to kind of instantly draw people in. So basically, why I like this particular video and why I wanted to make this little quick insert into the video is that these are the kinds of videos that will require multiple screenings, basically, for the reader to continue. And if your hook at the top here is strong enough, which, again, whether or not this is the perfect hook, I don't know yet. I'm testing this one out. But if this hook is strong enough, it will make the reader want to go, ooh, what is the scene? It's a whole block, block of text here. So, and it's the scene itself. I want to read more about that. So it makes them stop and read. And if the music is good enough in accompaniment with that, they will continue to watch it over and over and over again so that they can finish reading it, or they'll pause it and they will read the entirety of that text, which, again, regardless of which one they do, it's a good thing for you as an author because, one, if they continue to watch it over and over again, it's good for your stats, it's good for your platforms. If they don't and they just click pause and read it, you've had somebody who is interested in your book, and if they like everything enough, they will be coming back for more later. So, or they'll save the video or whatnot. So either way, that's great for you as an indie author. So I really like these videos. I try not to do them too often because I am trying to find that balance of like more markety videos and promo materials versus more authentic. So like, again, it's give and take and, trial and error and that kind of thing. But with this, I try to limit these to like once every now and then. So that way I'm not overwhelming people because, again, this is an entire block of text and it can be overwhelming if there's too many of these popping up. Let's say there's a particular line that you want a reader to see in specific. Like, for example, if I were to do it to this video, there's a line right here. As you can see, it's a romance. So yes, readers love that. Romance readers in particular, love stuff like this. So if I were to really want people to like immediately eyeball this, what I do, and again, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, what I tend to do, again, you can directly pull it from the book itself, or you can do what I did, which is just basically copy from the PDF and paste it on here. You can do that as well. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into the video so I can be more concise. So I basically control scroll wheel so that way I can zoom right on in there. And then you can see the line I'm wanting to put there. I move this, I make it smaller. And because this is him saying it, I have a blue color and a pink color. And again, we can argue sexism and colors and all that kind of stuff later. I just like it because it gives me a better view for just me of who says what. And I've assigned basically Charlie, who's the main male character, as blue. And I've assigned Sam, who's the female main character, as pink. So I put that. I minimize this a little bit. And basically because there's this thing behind it, I go layer, send backwards. And now that's going to appear behind it. And I'm going to do that and that just to make it a little bit more clean. And then if you zoom out, that's going to pop out even more. So a lot of people and a lot of different authors will highlight multiple lines and they will, put a bunch of different like elements and stuff around that. You can do that if you want to, or you can do it more simplistically like this of just the text and nothing else. And you can highlight like one or two lines. It really depends on what you want to do. But because of how this is formatted, it's the hook at the top, the quote in the middle, or the blurb, so to speak, here in the middle. And then at the bottom, I have the name of the book, a little emoji. Everybody, I love emojis. I'm such a sucker for them. So I've got the title and who it's by. The book is not out yet, so I might add another line on here that says like out or coming November 19th, which is the release date for the pen name project. So I might put that on there, or I might just leave it at that and put that in the description of the video. So that way when people look at the video and if they look at the description of the video to find out if there's more information about it, they have that there in the caption. So I just wanted to call that out real quick of another video. Oh, I completely forgot the background. The whole point of some of this. So if you look at the whole video, so we're going to hit play, and you can see the text in the front isn't moving. It is static. It's going to stay there. But the background image is like a stock image or a stock video that I made myself of me flipping through the book. Now you can play with it and edit it to fit at a certain time frame or whatnot. Move this around so that it doesn't take up enough time. But I wanted to call this out as well for this particular type of thing. So if you want to have this kind of video and you want more stock footage that you can use whenever and you don't have to worry about copyright, this is a great example of what you can do because it's your book. You have the copyright for it and it is you flipping through it. So all you have to do is just hold the, and if you want to look at different videos and different tutorials on how to do this kind of stuff, there's plenty of those around. So look for those. But basically what I've been doing with these is that I just take the book, put it up against like an aesthetic looking background. So I like the way that my bookshelf over here looks, which you can see in the background here a little bit better, especially at the end of the video. You can see it down here, which I'd have to edit this video, but you can see my shelves that are in the background. I like how they look, so I think they're more aesthetic and it makes the video pop a little bit more and it makes it look a little bit pretty. So if you have something like that, even if you put like just the wall behind you or like a really nice blanket or something like that, you can use that and kind of hover over it. But obviously depends on what book you're using and all of that kind of jazz. But I like to use my shelves because that's just my personal preference. So I just hold the book up in front of it and I just kind of flip through the pages, just let the video roll for a little while. Because basically what you don't want is that it's so short that you can't play with it. So I like to, like you can see this video in total is like 30 seconds. You don't need the full 30 seconds unless you really, really want to, which for this particular video and this particular quote, it might work for 30 seconds, but you may not want that. So having extra footage in case you need it will be helpful for you because you can cut it down later. So you just flip through the book, let the pages kind of go, and then show the title at the front. So if I were to skip over on here, you can see the flipping of the pages, and then let me go back a little bit. So you can see it's flipping, and then the page or the book is behind it. So you can then edit all of this, and you see all of this. These are the elements. So you see where this timestamp is. If I pull all of this to where that timestamp is, give me a moment. So if you pull all of that to there, what'll happen is the book title is now apparent, which obviously this isn't perfect. I'd had to edit it. It's not at the best time, but like you get what I'm trying to say. You will have all of that, and then at the very end, after people have done or finished reading it, then you will be able to see the title and the book itself in the background. So I just wanted to add that into here real quick because I wanted to show at least another different type of video as a tutorial for you guys because I just did the one and I got super, super hot, which is why I changed. But I got super, super hot, so I just ran off. So I wanted to do this real quick. So I will then now skip to the ending of the video.
So that's basically it for today's video. So basically what I'm hoping in the future is that once I get more used to this and once I have more information to bring back to you guys, I can kind of come back and update this video or add to it or kind of tag myself onto the discussion of it. So it's kind of like a continuous series of figuring this stuff out, which again, I'm hoping to do in general with this platform anyway, because as I mentioned before, being an indie author is hard enough as it is. So having very little resources to figure out what to do in order to do all the things that encompass being an indie author, other than just writing the book, is kind of frustrating. So any resources I can help you guys with, I'm more than happy to help with because I know how frustrated I was when I was first getting started, and I'm still trying to figure out as I'm moving through this process. So anything that I find in the future, I will bring to you guys. So for right now, this is kind of like my quick, here's how I do my short form content right now. I'm hoping in the future, again, I can update this and show you how that's evolved over time and how, I'm hoping maybe I can even bring numbers and stuff like that of like, okay, these ones did the best and this is what this is. And here's, the percentages for this. But right now, I don't really have any of that. I'm just kind of experimenting and playing with it a little bit myself. So I hope this was helpful in some way. Again, thank you to the person who commented on one of my videos asking me for advice, because again, that really touched me that anybody would want my opinion on things and any sort of like explanation on how to do things. That was really made my day. So I hope you guys are doing well. And if you have any, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you have any other indie author resource slash essentials that you want more information on, or you want me to talk about, or you want just any sort of YouTube video about, please feel free to leave it in the comments, or I will post. Occasionally, I'll try to post in the community tab some sort of like prompt of like, hey, I'm going to try to do some more indie author stuff. Let me know what your topics that you want covered are, and I'll post that up on community tabs and let you guys know. And I will definitely try to note those down and save those off, like I did with this comment of keeping that off to the side for stuff like this. So in the meantime, I thank you for being here and for being on this journey with me. You guys are such a great community, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys and talking about our passion of writing and writing books and all this other stuff. So until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. So